Welcome to Docket Decoder. If you enjoy our content, please help us out by hitting that like button or leaving your comments for us. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with the latest court filings.
All right, the defense calls Detective Mowery.
All right, if Detective Mowery can come and be sworn. One of my staff took the opportunity to take a break. They'll be back in a second, so we'll just get them sworn in and we'll wait for them.
Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give now before the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And I think it's fine if you just want to start with if you're going to ask him his background, you can do that.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Detective Mowery, could you please state your name and spell your last for the record?
My name is Lawrence Mowery, Mowery.
What's your current job?
I am a forensic detective with the Moscow Police Department.
And could you tell us about your background in law enforcement?
I have 14 years of law enforcement experience in the state of Idaho. I've been with the Moscow Police Department for the last 6 years in this current role.
What is your role in this case?
I was, put in charge of, lead, I don't know. I was the one that was looking at and funneling the excessive amount of digital data and evidence that was coming through.
Have you taken on any other roles in this case? Have you had other duties?
If you're asking about serving warrants for digital evidence, then I've done that, yes.
And you've heard Judge Mike.
Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you agree that the Exhibit A that's been discussed was and attached to warrants, that was a group effort?
Yes,
Have you been a part of that group?
I was.
What role did you have in the first AT&T warrant?
I don't recall specifically. I was there when it was being discussed.
Do you recall that you served that warrant?
I do.
When you served that warrant, did you serve it with the search warrant, with the affidavit in support of search warrant attached?
No, ma'am.
Is it your practice to ever serve an affidavit in support of search warrant with the warrant?
No, ma'am.
Were you co-located with Special Agent Nicholas Balance as well?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the distance that you had in proximity to him?
He sat in the same lab that I did.
And so was that a cubicle setting? Can you describe the setting?
It's a secured forensic lab. It has a door.
And then inside, is it open? Were you in separate offices?
It's a single room.
Single room. And so you were literally in the same room with Agent Balance.
Yes, ma'am.
And was that for the entire time that he was co-located there?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware of his ability to have access to AT&T records without a warrant?
No, ma'am.
All right, I want to talk now about the cell phone, also known as the USB. Do you recognize that? I should say, I'm so sorry because there are so many cell phones. Bryan Kohberger's cell phone. I want to talk to you
The
about.
physical cell phone or the data from the cell phone?
We're going to talk about both of those.
Okay.
So for purposes of today's argument, we've called it cell phone / USB. How did the state come into possession of Bryan's phone?
Obtained via the warrant in Pennsylvania.
Was a copy of that phone made prior to the search warrant being signed?
Which search
Copy
warrant?
of Bryan's cell phone
Again, I'm asking which search warrant you're talking about, the one from Pennsylvania or the one that we requested once the data returned?
I'm talking about when it was first seized. So it'd be the first,
The Pennsylvania one?
right?
I do not know.
You're aware that a copy of the phone was made and put on a USB,
Yes,
and then a warrant was obtained to search the USB.
yes, ma'am.
And that's the second warrant.
Yes, ma'am.
Was the cell phone searched prior to the warrant for the USB?
The extraction was created before the warrant in Idaho was requested.
Was the extraction searched before the warrant was obtained in Idaho?
No,
And how do you know that?
I was the one that received the extraction.
The extraction, where was the extraction made?
Pennsylvania.
And who made that extraction?
I believe it was Special Agent Tanzola.
And how did Special Agent Tanzola get that extraction to you?
You'd have to ask him. I believe it was using a Cellbrite product.
So what about is the USB not a physical box of the extraction, or is it all digital?
The USB is just a storage device that the data would be placed onto.
So with the extraction and the USB, can you explain the process of the extraction being made and it getting to you and it getting put on a USB?
Normally, in a forensic environment, the device is extracted, that extraction, and then therefore replaced onto a different storage device for evidence storage or for sharing with other forensic investigators.
And so you said normally, but I'm asking you specifically to Bryan Kohberger's cell phone.
The data was placed on a storage device by S.A. Tanzola and provided to me.
Okay. And how did you get the storage device?
I believe it was brought back. I don't recall how I was given to it. It was still in the FBI packaging.
Do you have any personal knowledge of whether or not Special Agent Tanzola reviewed the data of the extraction before the search warrant in Idaho was obtained?
I don't recall.
Okay. Judge, this is one you don't have yet either. This is Defendant's Exhibit A to cell phone. And it does have a sticker on it.
Do you have an extra copy of that?
Pardon?
Do you have an extra copy of that?
No, one's, I handed two, right?
Yeah, and going forward, I need 2 copies.
I will. I heard that message yesterday, Judge, and I apologize. Moving forward, I will make sure that there's that extra. I'm assuming you went up for your clerk. So
My staff attorney,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Oh, I got some great later.
And just for the record, as I've been doing, this has been marked Defendant's Exhibit Number A, with a date on the sticker of 11/14/24. The document on which the sticker is placed, first page is affidavit for search warrant. Directed to the Moscow Police Department Forensic Lab.
Detective, how did you create the affidavit in support of the cell phone of the USB warrant?
How did I create it?
Yes.
Guess I'm not understanding. That's a vague question.
How did you go about drafting this? Is this a document that you had that you filled in from, or did you start from scratch? How did you
I
come
don't
up?
remember the exact way that I did it, but it's not. This isn't very different from, say, an ICAC warrant that I would have had previous intentions to search the cyber tip information that would be already placed into evidence at the digital forensic lab.
So there's knowledge about what you're asking for and lists of things to get, what are you basing that knowledge on?
I would be basing this on information that I've done in previous cases, other warrants that I have served, and other warrants that I have viewed from other investigators throughout my time.
Can you turn to page 24? You see that page?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that page entitled Search Warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at the first paragraph of that search warrant, is there any reference to search warrant affidavit in the warrant?
No, ma'am.
And is the date of the crime on the search warrant?
No, ma'am.
On page 25, can you turn there? There's a directive to search the premises. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the premises listed as?
155 South View in Moscow, Idaho, in the forensic lab. 155 South View, one word.
Does it say USB in that descriptor?
No, ma'am.
Can you turn to page 28? Who is Key Computer Forensic Lab?
Key is not a person, it's a thing. It unlocked the secure cubicle that the USB was placed into by myself so that it was secured. I had the key, and entrance was obtained by Key in the computer forensic lab.
That makes sense now. I thought it was the name of a company, and I don't know why, but that makes sense. Key Computer Forensic Lab. Who was ultimately in charge of searching the USB drive?
The data was extracted, or not extracted, but reviewed by several different people.
Okay, who are those people?
I don't know all of them. Myself looked at some of the information, but not all.
And you said you don't remember all of them, but who else do you remember?
The information was also given to the FBI. The FBI had that information and they examined it.
And do you know who with the FBI?
No, I do not.
Can you turn to page 27? Can you look at page 6? Or not page 6, I'm sorry. Number 6, line number 6. Do you see that? What does that say?
A copy of the warrant inventory sheet were left with the drive.
And that does not indicate that a copy of the search warrant affidavit was left with the drive. Is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I want to talk now about Amazon. Did you swear to several warrants for Amazon?
I did.
Do you know specifically how many?
I do not recall how many.
How were the warrants served? How did you serve Amazon warrants?
I believe that Special Agent Michael Douglas assisted in service of those.
What training do you have in Amazon accounts and records?
I do not have any training for Amazon specifically.
And I think you answered my next question, but there was a reference in the warrants to a special agent locating an Amazon account. Is that the Special Agent Douglas?
I don't recall who was that, who found that information.
How was an Amazon account located?
I don't know.
In your affidavit, where you've got language that talks about what Amazon holds and how it identifies and the list of items that can be collected, if you don't have any training in doing an Amazon warrant, how did you know that to put that?
I was relying on the experts that have worked with or served in warrants to Amazon previously. I believe that information came from Special Agent Michael Douglas.
And in your affidavit, did you indicate that that was based on your knowledge or on someone else's knowledge?
I based it on mine because I spoke to Special Agent Michael Douglas about it, and he was the one that informed me that this was the information that we could request.
And so did he provide you with a kind of a mock-up affidavit to use so that you would know what language to include?
I don't remember if he gave me a mock-up, but obviously he would have helped me with the wording of it.
The wording of the warrants is pretty technical, right? All the list of items that is asked for.
Any electronic service provider usually has their special way of asking for things.
And so since you don't have training in Amazon, you relied on Special Agent Douglas for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Google is the next one I want to talk to you about. What's your training about Google?
Again, I have no specific training to Google. I've served various email or warrants on Google for other means.
Is your experience with Google isolated to this case?
No.
You've done Google warrants before?
Oh, yes.
How did you get the form that you used for the Google warrant in this case?
The Google form, I probably relied on previous warrants that I've served.
Do you know how many warrants you obtained for Google in this case?
It's 3.
On January 3rd, that January 3rd, 2023, that warrant asked for Bryan Christopher, 1994 at Gmail, 2 phone numbers, and an IMEI number. What's an IMEI?
International Mobile Equipment Identifier.
And how did you get that number to put in the January 3rd, 2023 Google warrant?
I do not recall.
Okay. Were you, in preparation for creating these warrants, were you having communications with Google?
Specifically about these warrants?
About being able to get the data via warrants?
I don't recall communicating with them specific to these warrants.
Okay, I'm going to hand you what's Defendant's Exhibit F to the Google Memorandum in Support. You recognize that?
Appears to be an email between myself and a Francis from Google.
So is this how you were communicating with Google, via email?
I was communicating with Google for other, I'm not sure if this is the one for this specific warrant, I guess is where I'm getting at. There was question of what Google could provide. We served Google at one point with a warrant. They said it was, they couldn't do it because there would be too much data. So they were trying to assist us in, well, basically not spending $100,000 of getting them data.
So to be clear, when I'm talking about the communications generally, I'm talking about your communications with Google about all the warrants. So was there email and telephone communications or just email?
I believe I spoke with their legal representation on the phone. I don't remember if there was other conversations.
Do you understand the difference between a personal account and a not personal account on Google?
I do not.
Well, there's reference to DeSales and DeSales helping from their end. Can you explain that?
I don't recall what that means.
Do you recognize what DeSales is in the course of this case?
It references an email address that was associated with the defendant.
Okay. And that email address associated with the defendant is a college that he attended, right?
Yes.
And so what was there communication with DeSales about them not wanting to produce records pursuant to a warrant because it was educational records protected by federal law?
I was part of a little bit of that. Officer Detective Payne knew more about that conversation, but yes.
And so what I'm trying to understand is what was DeSales doing to help?
I believe DeSales was just waiting for a warrant. I don't recall completely.
And did you serve the Google warrants?
I believe I did.
I believe you said you did.
Yes.
And consistent with what you've said earlier, you did not include an affidavit in support of search warrant with
No,
that?
ma'am.
Why did you choose the timeframe of January 1st, 2021 to December 30th, 2022?
I don't recall the specific reason why we went back to January 1. It was to include the time that we believed that the defendant had entered Washington, to become a student nearby the crime scene and just prior to that.
But you know that he didn't come to Pullman, Washington until June of 2022, right?
Correct.
Did you review the Google warrant return emails?
Yes.
Did you review? So you said you reviewed them. Are you the one who's in charge of evaluating those materials for this case, or is that designated to somebody else?
The materials came to myself, at which time it was disseminated to other investigators and the FBI as well.
Is it fair to say that between warrant 1 and warrant 3, it's gone from 2 gigs to over 13 gigs of material?
It was substantial information.
And have you done anything to verify whether or not the materials produced are within the scope of the warrants?
I usually made sure that they were from that specific account when it's received, but I did not go into depth of the evaluation.
Let's talk, the final area is about the Apple warrant. What was your role in those warrants? In that warrant, sorry, not plural, singular.
I don't remember that specific one. I know I was involved in a lot of the Apple iCloud warrants.
What kind of communications did you have with Apple to facilitate getting the warrant?
I don't recall prior to.
I'll hand you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit C to the Apple warrant. It does have a sticker on it. And it's not to the Apple warrant, it's to the memorandum in support.
Exhibit C attached to their memorandum dated, exhibit sticker dated 11/14/24. Appears to be a printout of some emails.
Have you reviewed those?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you, does that help refresh your recollection regarding what communications were occurring?
It appears that there was communication between Apple and the FBI.
Okay. And were you included in that?
I believe I was.
Okay. And did that include chats?
I believe the word chat means to chat, to talk.
Like telephone talk or Zoom talk, or what was the method?
I believe it was telephonic.
So what kind of help were you getting from Apple, and what was the FBI getting from Apple?
I don't recall the conversation. This was more specific to the FBI's current investigation. As I stated in my email there for the stalking investigation, I was merely just privy to their conversation.
Have all of their materials related to that been turned over?
Who's there in that sentence, Counsel?
Pardon?
Who's there in that sentence?
Sorry, FBI.
I do not know. I wasn't, I don't know.
I have no further questions.
A few questions, Your Honor. Can I stay here?
No.
Okay. Just a few follow-up questions. When you received the evidence back from these various providers, did you have access to what we refer to as affidavit for search warrant and Exhibit A?
Yes.
Okay. And did you use that to determine the scope of what you would be searching for from those providers?
If I was to be doing the investigation, yes, I would have looked at those items.
And you testified that several investigators helped MPD in review of evidence back from providers.
Yes.
To your knowledge, did those investigators have access to the affidavit and the Exhibit A?
Yes.
I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I have no further witnesses.
All right, why don't we take a 10-minute recess